The Dark King.
Hello everyone, welcome to Meta Monday Analysis here on SkaredCast. I'm Skari, your grateful host, and this is the every week Patreon show where I answer questions, we discuss the meta, and we just spend a little bit of time talking. I'm Skari. For anybody who doesn't know, I play Dark Eldar, and I play competitively. I'm a member of the Art of War coaching team, and we do a whole variety of different things. And I've been doing this for a long time, so hello and welcome. Of course, I've got the little head today because we're going to be talking about some really cool stuff, aka we've got some stats for you, which is going to be really spicy, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But hugely excited about kind of breaking it down, seeing how the meta is acting up. Tyranids OP, well, they're definitely up there, so we'll definitely have our questions answered. Now, of course, I just want to stop and take a moment and acknowledge all the Patreons, without whom none of this would be possible. So thank you so much for anybody who continues to support the channel. If you'd like to hop on Patreon, become a denizen that lets me do this, the links are down below. And of course, I've unlocked today's Meta Monday for all of you in the interwebs, just so you can enjoy it and hang out with me and chat. And it is Monday, so we've got a whole week ahead of us. I had a cool tournament that I went to. I ran Void Raven Bombers, and that was really fun. Came in second place. Because apparently my little Corsair unit decided to fail its Nachmund data roll, which I was very sad about. But anyway, we will get to the chat. We'll get to all of that. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me today. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk, we're going to answer some of the questions that were asked by the Patreons, and then we're going to jump in to this. So we got that one, and then we're going to jump into this one. I'll leave it on there, but that's essentially a win rate. You can kind of, it's a faction by faction win rate from the largest events from this weekend. Now, any and all data that I used today was compiled by Jeremy. Thank you so much, Jeremy, member of the Team Canada team and squad. Who has been doing this since the beginning of the Nachmund season. And every week, I am very blessed that he dumps this information in front of me so I can break it down and analyze it and share it with all of you so you can kind of see what factions are doing well against other factions and how armies are doing and things like that. Now, this is just 1 week worth of data. So this is what just happened this weekend, essentially. So take it with a grain of salt. It's not always going to be the most accurate thing as well. But hello, Cosmic, Artemis, Paul, Raptor, Mark Wang, Froy, Ian. Hello, everyone. Bombers are back on the menu. Oh, I love the bombers. They're so fun. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so we'll go over to the Patreon page first, and we'll answer Chucky's question. So Chucky asks, do you think Nids have a hit from the nerf bat coming? Yes, I do. However, that comes with a caveat. As we'll find out soon enough, Tyranids have a very similar win rate to what Drukhari had when Drukhari were first out there. Now, to everybody out there who plays Tyranids and who loves Tyranids and is going to be annoyed by people saying, Tyranids OP, Tyranids OP, over and over and over again, I know how it feels. Let's just sink in for a second. It doesn't feel good when you play the faction that you love and everybody kind of like bums you out because of it. Stop bumming people out. That's my feeling. It's my hot take. Let people play whatever they want. And the thing about the nerf bat, Chucky, is that they're gonna hit Tyranids with a nerf bat, and there's so much internal balance in that codex that a different build, completely different build, is going to rise to the top. Very similar to how it happened with Drukhari. At first, it was like MSU, witches, raiders, like raider spam, that sort of thing. Hit it with a nerf bat. Then it was liquefiers. Then it was hit it with a nerf bat. Then it was Kronos and Talos and like Thick City style. And they hit it with a nerf bat again. You know, so they had to multiple times hit it over the head with a nerf bat. And then finally they're like, okay, now it's, you know, you'll see now Drukhari is about, you know, 50-50 win rate. Which is like almost perfect. Like Drukhari is, right? So one can hope that Tyranids get to that point. However, I don't know how quick this reaction might be. Because it might be like a reaction that takes a long time, because they literally just released the balanced data slate because of the Harlequins. They released it early. But then you've got Tyranids, which is essentially the same sort of thing, right? Like, that's kind of crazy. Raptor says slightly under 50% win rate is where I want to be. Yeah, you know, and that's, you know, so bomber lists. Exactly. Okay. So Linus asks, Tempest of War has me interested in 40k again. Oh, very cool, Linus. But does it fix my main issue with the game at the moment? Time per game as a casual player? Playing a semi-casual game, I have to spend at least 4 hours. Mostly 5 for like a 2,000 point game on both Age of Sigmar and 40k. Most of that is due to rules bloat, demanding extreme levels of system mastery for even casual games. That's a very, very valid point, Linus. The game of Warhammer 40,000 is not a fast game to play by any stretch of the imagination, depending on like what your definition of fast is, right? And you know, at a competitive level, they tend to give us 2.5 hours in a round, and a lot of times, like that's about, you know, maybe 2 hours and 45 minutes, depending on, or 240, like an hour and 20 minutes each. But that's if you're like focused on the game, you're doing your things, you're rolling your dice. There's not a lot of like chit chat or hanging out, and you just kind of get through your turns, and you can kind of get it done within, you know, under 3 hours. There are a lot of rules, and the codexes are designed terribly. Don't even get me started on where is my chapter approved rule in my codex. Where are my stratagems? Where are my crusade rules? Why are they in the middle of the book? That makes no sense. You can, if you agree with me, then you understand the plight. And then the more different types of units you put in your list, the different, like, you're flipping back and forth. And I think one of the biggest issues with rules bloat and making the game last so long is the fact that it, like, the rules that do the exact same thing in Warhammer 40,000 are not called the exact same thing, and the description is different. So, like, Deep Strike, or what used to be called Deep Strike back when I was a young lad playing this game, it was a universal special rule that meant that you could essentially place a unit from reserves anywhere on the table, you know, outside of 9 inches of the enemy, or whatever it was. Whereas now it's like everything that does that, Manta Strike and Strike from the Shadows and Upon Wings of Fire, whatever the heck you are using that from, it's the same rule, just different, and takes up a whole paragraph of time and space. So, you know, yes, I understand where that's coming from. The only thing I would recommend is really to play smaller games. Tempest of War really helps because there's a lot less prep time and like building a list. You just have to kind of, you just build a list that's got a little bit of everything, and then put it on the table and see what the cards dictate, right? And that's kind of like what happens with that. So hopefully that like answers your question. Just play smaller games. Sometimes play skirmish, or you know, try not to, just don't overcomplicate it. Take one warlord trait, one relic, and then just copy paste like the same unit 4 times or whatever if it's a troop choice. Or make your units really expensive so you don't have to take a lot of them. Especially if you're just playing casualty, it doesn't matter, like, really. Just go for the cinematic fun times. And honestly, I feel like playing, I've said this many times, playing power level is really fun. All of you naysayers out there can be silent about that, because I feel power level is more balanced than points. Change my mind. Wouldn't universal special rules cause even more flipping and back and forth between the rulebooks, says Rodell? Well, to be honest, I feel it's a lot easier, because you just have to, like, instead of, instead of trying to remember the name of each individual rule in each individual data sheet from each unit, the data sheet would say abilities deep strike. And that's in the main rulebook, which then everybody has. So you just, as soon as you read that, you just know what that is. So there's no like, you know, maybe a different caveat to this or that or the other. So, and I'll get to all of your questions in chat as well. Of course, huge shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you for hanging out, leaving comments, liking, super chats. Really helps the channel, and I really appreciate it. Sharing, liking, subscribing. Oh my gosh, do the YouTube stuff. Because it's important. It is. It actually is. It helps a lot. But thank you very much for that question. So we're going to go over to the Discord. That's right, we have a Discord for the patrons. And we're going to go to the Meta Monday questions. Okay, Fish Eyes says, with knights around the corner, can you give some helpful tactics to play into them? Oh, Drukhari historically have always been like hit or miss against knights. We tend to win the mission when playing against knights or chaos knights. We tend to have very little of our army remaining at the end of the game. So one of the, that's the thing about having like dark lances, seem like a fantastic weapon into knights until you understand that it's wounding on a 4, and then they get like a 4-up or 5-up save to negate the damage, which means that on average you're not going to be doing a lot of damage into knights. Mortal wounds tend to do very well into knights. So if there's some way for you to like get mortal wounds, like Ichor injectors and Talos stuff, heat lances are pretty effective as well on bikes or Talos or whatever. But to be honest, the biggest piece of advice I would say playing into knights is play the mission and focus on the mission, because you'll win, you just might not have a lot of models left. Obsidian Rose, baby, says Raptor. You could just use Obsidian Rose, 100% absolutely, being that Obsidian Rose is quite literally it's what is it, the Obsidian Rose with a reroll wound roll is super excellent. Sorry, I got distracted there. See what you do to me, making me all distracted and stuff. Usually against armies that are stronger / more durable, I use move blocking and tying up in combat. Okay, move blocking is very important into knights, yes. Tying up a combat you can't really do into regular knights. You can do into the warglaives and stuff. They can still shoot you though, but at least you force them to shoot at something specific. Knights walk over models and can shoot out of combat. They can't shoot out of combat. That's not a thing anymore. At least not that I know of. They can fall back and still shoot though. And they can shoot into combat though. What other tactics am I not aware of? Ideally, from a Dark Eldar perspective. So one of the biggest tactics that I love to use into knights is anything. This is into any Titanic style weapon or unit. Is obscuring doesn't block Titanic, but blocks you. So one of the things you can do is find a ruin or a piece of obscuring terrain that has holes in it that you can see through, basically, and then. Yeah, of course it doesn't work if it's a solid wall, because you can't physically see through the solid wall. But if it's like a big ruin that has like windows in it, you can hide behind this, shoot dark lances all day long at these big knights, and they can't shoot you back with direct fire weapons. Gives you maybe a few turns to shoot them before they get an angle around the side or get up to you and then start shooting you. So always use terrain as much as you can to your advantage when playing the big knights. They can also be move blocked quite effectively. Like if there's buildings and whatnot and obstacles, you can kind of like block them so they can't move around through the buildings, because they can't move through they can't move through walls and stuff like that through breachable. Saludos desde México, dice Stoker Gamer. ¿Qué opinas del win rate de los Craft World y su matchup contra Dark Eldar? Also, knights seem really good into making you fail the mission. Yeah. Which vow is best now for Black Templars? All great questions, which we will get to in a second. But thank you for your question, Fish Eyes. I hope that helps. Carl Malone says, I played in my first tournament this weekend. Nice. In a while. What I noticed is how hard it is to kill things now with the tools we have even against Marines. AKA, armor contempt is a real thing. This weekend, I took a 4-man squad of witches into an infiltrator squad of Marines and failed to even kill one. Oh yes, that has never been a good idea, in my opinion. Even with Grave Lotus, yes. One Marine will kill all 4 Witches in return because they have so many attacks. Witches just seem like expensive, multiple small units now. I agree with that statement too. That's why I only take 1 unit of 5 Witches, and that's to unlock my Cult of Strife detachment, that then I fill with Hellions or Reaver jet bikes. Because that is better. Not a whole lot of killing potential unless you're playing against Eldar, but we just bounce off Marines. Yep. Also, how is using 2 bombers? Would like to run them, just seems like too much of an investment on non-scoring units. Yes, well, 2 bombers, the way I was running, each bomber was 185 points of bomber. And it was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. I just made sure that I didn't really spend too many points elsewhere. I felt I had a lack of little MSU units for the mission, but my damage output was great because I had big Hellion unit, big Reaver Jetbike unit, crazy killy Succubus with competitive edge, she's still amazing, and then re-roll hits and wounds Archon. So Skari was running around with the Jin Blade and Hatred Eternal, and he just killed things, and that was really, really useful. But yeah, bombers are more of a psychological weapon than anything, and every once in a while they just go absolutely crazy and kill so many things. It's like having an Eldritch Storm like every game that you don't have to pay CP for, and it's fantastic. And I love it. Hate everything. Yeah. Froy, Archon Skari does hate everything. That's why he gets reroll hits and wounds against everything. Okay, let's bounce through a couple of these questions in the chat, and then we'll dive into what has been a pretty crazy week. Is that it? No, that's it. Okay. A pretty interesting weekend we'll get to in a second as well. So you can see the stats over here. Thank you, Jeremy, for compiling these. These are from this weekend. You can see like the top lists. You know, some of them, just make sure when you see the number of players, like that'll give you the sense of the size of how many people are actually physically playing the faction. You know, so someone like Imperium that has 2 people playing Imperium with like a 60% win rate, that's 1 very good Imperial player, you know, or 2 very good Imperial players. So take that with a grain of salt. You know, that's a very small sample size when it comes down to it. Yes, exactly. Paul says, what I don't get is why there isn't a meme with the scene from Three Musketeers where everyone gets their swords from hiding with a note that says armor contempt. People get their marines and sisters of battle. I have not seen so many power-armored armies at an event in a very, very long time. I went to an RTT this weekend, and I played Space Marines, Blood Angels, in succession, and then played Eldar. That hasn't happened in years. And I'll tell you right now, Dark Eldar, love playing into Marines. I love it. Incubi, love killing Marines. Dark Lances and Blasters, love killing Marines. The Succubus with the crazy competitive edge and Archon Skari with his Jin Blade, love killing Marines. It's like a match made in heaven for me. And I very appreciate that all of these Marine players have come out of hiding. And it has been fantastic. I can't stop but grinning. It's great. Hey, Christopher Cruck, what's going on? Clayson says, sup. Sup, Clayson. What do you think about Wraithguard with D-sides? Seem kind of spicy. The Flamer ones, I haven't actually used them, so I can't really give you too much advice on them or thoughts, because I haven't played against them or played with them. If there's one thing that you take away from watching me and watching any of my content and any of my opinion pieces, it's that I rarely give my thoughts about something that I don't have some sort of experience with. I do my best to only critically discuss something when I have, like, tangible physical proof and evidence of what it does on the table based on personal experience. So you're hard-pressed to get me to sort of like really diss or praise anything until I put it on the table. And that's a big recommendation I do. You like something, put it on the table, see how it does. Don't let the internet naysayers tell you what's good or what's bad. Like, I'm not kidding. Do you think that stratagem should only be one-time use? Says Imperium Vox Network. I think that if you take the reroll strat away, it becomes a lot more spicy. One-time use strats I like doing with mini wargaming campaigns and stuff like that. Personally, it's interesting. It's nice to know that you can use every strat once, but just once. But then it means, okay, then some factions have more strats than others. You know, how does that balance out? It's never going to be perfect. Which vow is best now for Black Templars? I like Suffer Not the Unclean to Live. Yeah, that's my favorite. Hey, Sharonin, what's going on? Wave back at you. Andrew says 2 bombers or 1? I ran 2 bombers. I find that, like, 1 doesn't do much. 2 is scary. I was shocked in my final game winning my tournament when a Death Guard piled into my homunculus. I almost killed him, and I forgot my scissor hand attacks. Oh no! Hopefully you don't forget that next time. Ian says, thoughts on Thousand Suns with the -1 AP? Thousand Suns are spicy. I've said this for a long time. One of the patrons, his name is Thibaut. He's from France. He has been playing Thousand Suns or Tzeentch Demons in some form since I started coaching him, which was like a year ago, more than a year ago. And he's been playing with like 30,000 Sun Terminators and a bunch of like characters forever, since the book came out, since before the book came out. And he is crushing people. And now it just got better. Yes, Thousand Suns are very, very good. It was his Demon Prince. I get it, Andrew. You should not forget the attacks that you have. Okay. Thanks all for your questions, everyone. Let's dive into some of these stats. So this weekend, Warhammer 40,000. I love these stats because they're just so, like, telling. And over time, we will have, like, at the end of the season or towards the end of the season, I'll be getting full, like, a conglomerate of the stats, like, from start to finish of the season, which is hard to keep track of because the meta fluctuates so much. I will say, though, based on the other data that we've had for the last, say, 8 weeks, this is the most balanced the game has been. I don't care how good Tyranids are. I care that the spread is a lot smaller in the middle, which is fantastic. And I love to see that more armies seem to be competing for those spots in that sort of B tier, like middle of the pack. And cool. So Tyranids, they win this weekend with a 67% win rate. As we talked before, they have a lot of good options. Their book can be built in many different ways. They have some crazy combos and some maybe not so crazy combos. They have, aka, a variety of different ways to build it. Okay? They are going to get hit by the nerf bat, and then what's going to happen? The other good things in the book are going to get used. So I feel like we're going to go, it's going to be a good 3 to 6 months of Tyranids just like eating things. So get used to playing against Tyranids and start looking at options in your codex that help you with Tyranids. Then we have the Harlequins. The Harlequins themselves, they went from like 80% win rate, which was like cancer, to a 64% win rate. Still very high. I predicted they'd go to like 65% personally, so makes sense. However, they had 0 draws, which is hilarious. It means they either win or they lose. They very rarely draw. Interesting. The Imperium Army, I believe, was like, I don't know, some mix, but there's only 2 players, so I'm not going to really like skip that. The next one was Grey Knights. Grey Knights got a huge boost with Armor Contempt. Paladins, just strike squads, just Terminators. I've seen what these new Grey Knights can do, and they can score lots of points, right? One of the cool things about Grey Knights you see is their points scored is almost as much as what the Tyranids score. It's like 76 points on average this weekend to like 80 points to the Tyranids. They can't really stop their opponents from scoring as much. Like opponents scoring for them is a lot less of a discrepancy, and they have a couple of draws. But with a 55% win rate, Grey Knights, are they back on the menu? I feel like they are personally, as well. So then we have the Death Watch. Only 3 players there, so yeah, 55% win rate, but 3 players. You can't really say too much about that. Genesteal Cult, 13 players. They're hovering around that same 50-some% win rate, 40-some to 50-some every week. Very consistent on the Genesteal Cult. The Tau, right? One of the higher player pools for the weekend, 54% win rate. Down, definitely down from what it was. But I think that's a combination of different things, aka things that kill Tau are now back in the meta, like Tyranids and things like that as well. Which is very. I love seeing Tau low because I hate Tau, and my Dark Eldar hate Tau, so I don't like seeing Tau. Tau can jump off a cliff. Okay, I have to play such a wuss when I'm playing into Tau. It hurts my soul. Azuriani, so Craftworld Eldar sitting at like a 43% win rate. Okay, 44 players, decent pool. Congratulations to Nick, who won the Dallas Open, which was awesome. Nice to see him rocking out with some Eldar. White Scars, 5 players, but the best performing other than Deathwatch Space Marine list. Mixed Eldari, decent win rate as well. Then we had Salamanders, another Space Marine list. Sisters of Battle having a nice jump from like the low 40s all the way up to a 51 with a decent amount of people playing it, right? It seems like people got inspired by this Armor Contempt this weekend, which is nice. Custodes, 50%. They're okay. I don't know what all these Custodes players are stressing about. They're still good. And then, of course, the Thousand Suns, Force the Hive, mine own 3 players. Thousand Suns, still sitting at that 50% or so. And then Drukhari right under them, and Necrons, with I guess, about the same as they have been. And then a whole bunch of stuff in the bottom half of the chart. I think that's cool. And then let me know what you think down in the comments. Which is the stat that surprises you the most when it comes to the meta this weekend? I'm curious. Is it any specific one that you would have thought would be higher or lower? And which of the new books that is coming out are you excited about? Chaos Space Marine just got teased, right? We've got Knights, Chaos Knights and Knights, and the Rift War thing coming out with an army renowned for Coven. Who's excited about that? This guy. There's a reason I'm excited. I was so excited I asked Francois up in Ottawa to send me 120 racks. So I feel like I'm going to sell my soul dearly to play something that's absolutely ridiculous, and I love it. Okay. Yeah, so how long before Tyrannocyte spam is nerfed, says Rodell? We'll see. It's like Raiders. Raiders spam was a thing. Starweaver spam was a thing. Now it's going to be Tyrannocyte spam, which is another dedicated transport or whatever, is a thing. So we'll see, what happens with that as well. The Archon has a soul. Me? No, I don't have a soul. I'm just kidding. I don't have a soul. I did rip out someone else's soul, put it inside of me. Mr. Kari K says, print is too small. How did Necrons do? About 47%. In this case, this is just the color code. So in this, you can kind of see what your faction does on average against other factions. I always find it very interesting because, for example, as a Drukhari player, I go up and go, okay, we had this weekend, 33% win rate against Sisters of Battle. I know that matchup can be dicey and can flip either way, so it's not technically super surprising. 67% win rate into Custodes. Okay, I know that we do okay into Custodes. But 38% into Astra Militarum, somebody just got smashed by a bunch of Manticores or something. That's usually not what I find. Dark Angels, 33%. I can see that because playing into those Terminators is annoying as all heck. And then, of course, 40% of Genesteal Cult. It's a toss of a coin. With, 42% of the Tau. That's probably the one that I'm the most concerned about because I hate Tau. Said this again. I don't like playing Tau. Well, I'll play it. Who likes Tau? Nobody likes Tau. Sisters are kind of angry now. Yes, definitely. Listening to you on my phone, says Mr. Kari. No problem. Well, I hope everybody found this little bit of information useful. Of course, if you'd like to ask me a question for Meta Monday, questions, and would like to leave a comment on Patreon on Mondays, I put up a little thread. There's a Discord. Once again, I have to say thank you so much for the patrons. The Denizen community is thanks to whom I get to do any of this. So if you like someone who does content and you want to support them, please do. If you'd like to do that with me, the links are down in the description below. Other than that, I've been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. Ah, the Dark Kin. Bye, everybody.